Good afternoon, Prof. Hello. Good morning, sir. Hello, panel chair.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I was speaking obituary the meeting
Yes, I know. We're supposed to start 12:45.
at 12:45, sure.
Good morning. 12:45. So on 12:40 on dot, I'll call in you the panelists and we'll begin. Is that fine by you, sir?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
12:40 on the dot, I will call on the presenter.
Within the next 4 minutes, we need to start.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Please, I would like to confirm who is here at the moment. I think we share or is here. Oluwaseun Ayere. Olayemi here. Victoria Omuji. And then Shu. So we have children, we have Omuji, and we have Oluwaseun. Yeah. So while we wait for Aditi Adibuli and Aditi, yes, and Olayemi, please while we wait for them. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning. How are you? Good afternoon. How are you?
Okay, good afternoon, sir. We are here.
We are here. We need to start the meeting.
Yes, we need to start now. Welcome.
And I believe all the panelists are there.
We are waiting for.
Maybe you can first confirm if you have all the panelists.
Yes, we have 3 of the panelists are already seated, and we're waiting for 2. I think we'll begin with the 3. You're all sorry.
Then we can begin with the 3 who are available. The others will join as we go on.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the panel section of Economic, Legal, and Finance, chaired by our online chair. So, please, sir, can you help me out with your name? I'm sorry, I didn't want to make it blunder.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Drago Gunjiri from the University of Nairobi. Okay. My apologies, I was to join in Lagos for this conference, but I'm happy to join you online so that we can share together the liberation of this workshop and this panel, whatever you're going through. So I wish to welcome everybody to this panel, and I wish you all we have a good liberation. We are going to have a 90 minutes discussion, and being we have five panelists, and I would suggest we have 15 minutes per panelist presentation. Then after that, we have around 30 minutes for discussion and question and answers. So we give the five panelists first to do the presentation, then we can have the question and answer later. So I would suggest the participants to try to write down their question and for each panelist, so they can ask after they have done presentation at the end of the 5th one. So maybe you can confirm who is the first available to present.
Yes, we have Oluwaseun from the University of Lagos. She will be presenting on Sino-Nigerian relationship and the quest for sustainable infrastructure, financing in Nigeria. Please, can you have your seats? Then we also have Victoria Olujimi. She will be presenting on, she'll be presenting on indigenous human resources and alternative youth empowerment in Oyo State. She'll be here. We have please sit down there. Thank you very much. Then we have Shujin. Tap in fuel, electricity supply, fuel importation, and subsidy in Nigeria. Please. Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Then we can start with the first panelist now. The first panelist.
Yes, so Oluwaseun will be the first person. Oluwaseun, you have the podium. I'll put up your slide. Please, you're presenting from here. Please take it.
You have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Everyone. Everyone can hear me. I learned I'm quite soft spoken, so please, if you cannot hear me, just let me know and I will take myself. All right. So I'm here to present my work first introduce myself as Damodu and I'm here to develop my work, which is this particular topic is part of my PhD, ongoing PhD research, and I'm in my first year of the PhD research. And the research is being funded by DAAD through the Urban Lab project, which is situated within the Center for Housing and Sustainable Development here in the University of Lagos. So it's a bilateral relationship with TUB Berlin and the BEAT in South Africa. So this topic came up in my engagements with my research and
sorry. Excuse me.
Yes,
maybe you can share your PowerPoint. Share your PowerPoint, please.
There's someone sharing it.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Okay. Go on.
So I'm hoping to get feedback on this research. So the title is The Sino-Nigerian Relations and the Quest for Sustainable Infrastructure Financing. So my PhD primarily is concerned with critiquing the various models of financing infrastructure here in Lagos and to see the challenges that have been encountered and hopefully be able to draw out a model that works for all parties involved in delivery of infrastructure for an efficient city. So I'll be following the
You can put them in the full mode, full presentation mode.
Prof, can you see the slides now?
Yeah, I can see the slide now.
Can you see the slides?
Thank you, then go on.
Okay, all right. So I'm speaking through the introduction and to the proposed recommendation application. First, at the form of introduction, we are gradually seeing that cities cities infrastructure needs are huge, and along with it is the inability of the government to fund this infrastructure. And so what we're constantly seeing is cities being pushed even to the end of various disasters and being exposed to various issues arising, especially with climate change. And so this gap is also obvious in the fact that the revenues generated by various cities is not even commensurate with the capital investment needs in these various cities. And many cities have now gone out to explore various financing mechanisms. Now, different infrastructure, based on different infrastructure needs and the parties involved, various complex instruments have been developed. And over time, one of the things that we're constantly and constantly seeing, or that is increasingly seen in African cities, is the engagement or private investment, or you can call it foreign direct investment of the Chinese government or the private institutions in African cities. And there's been growing concerns regarding these kinds of financing instruments within African cities. I'm trying to get the adjustments on.
Yeah, you have the control.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, the saying are not moving. We are still in the first page, the cover page.
Yeah, I think you need to if you want to.
Just continue.
I will move to the top. Yes.
It's okay.
Maybe the angle. Sorry.
Yes.
All right. So I would think that there are various financial instruments. Can we move on to the next one? Yes, depending on many factors that have been developed. First, the PPP. There are many people are now substitution. And then even to different innovative financial mechanisms. One is the CIS, and Tax Increment Financing Model, which has been adopted in succeeding countries. And of course, we're now seeing increasing Chinese investment in African. And so people are now constantly critiquing why how this has come to be, and if this is exactly what we need. Because the agenda that is being pushed by Chinese government is the model of sharp and soft power, where it's more like an enduring to relinquish your resources, in exchange for development. And oftentimes, most African schools are now reading the text, and they have to now write up this aspect to the control of the Chinese government, who then take over for a number of years, leaving these African cities further injected. So quickly to speak on the city context before I now move on to the core discussion. I'm particularly focusing on this investment within the Lagos city. This is a brief overview of the Lagos city. I'm not sure much but the fact is that there's increasing urban population of Lagos city, and which is not commensurate with the infrastructure needs. And so what we're having is that more people are being thrown into poverty and are being exposed to vulnerable conditions. And some of these situations are state other conditions of lack of space, lack of infrastructure, and the growing informal communities caused from emerging in Lagos. So moving on to the Sino-Nigerian Revolution infrastructure financing. We are seeing that the implication in Lagos that is significant and multifaceted. I mentioned earlier that Lagos government is unable to meet this infrastructure need. And so many of them are now turned to Chinese government who have willingly or are more open to investing in African cities, unlike their northern counterparts who have been reluctant in China's past. And so what the things that we're beginning to see are, we can't deny the fact that the infrastructure development, for example, we are seeing more railways, bridges, and ports being developed. An example is the Lagos-Ibadan Railway. We also have the free trade zone that's also come up. Many of these are because of the partnership with the Chinese government. Other ones that we also have are economic cooperation. Of course, we have bilateral trade and ties, and that emerged. So we are having more investment in industries such as the manufacturing industry, telecommunication, the energy, which is contributing to job creation and economic growth. Another thing we're beginning to see is the technology and innovation. We all know that China is quite advanced in technology, and some of these are not reported. Most of the devices that we have are because of it. We now have easy access to some of it because of the increase in the investment of Chinese government and Chinese people in Lagos. So on the flip side, there's a growing concern. And it is important that to know the implication of this involvement, and so that we can all decide on the way forward. First is the debt. One implication that has come from this is the potential debt burden on Lagos and Nigeria as a whole. The current Lagos state domestic debt currently stands at 650. Can we move on to the next slide? Next. Thank you very much. Yeah, the increasing debt. Lagos domestic debt alone currently stands at 658.95 billion naira. It's not even considered recurring debt. And so there's a great concern if we are able to pay off this debt, and if this debt alone, and if this debt or this funding mechanism are sustainable, and who eventually bears this budget. And so the Paris Club has come, with the quest that there should be more transparent and financial stability in African cities in which they got involved. Also, the geopolitical influence. That's the question of if Chinese government are indirectly trying to export their own value chain to the country, if they're trying to export their own way of thinking of doing things in there, are there trade-offs in the sense that when they want to give you their money or their funds, is there a trade-off that we do not know? And just speak to it is the fact that many of these agreements, many of these are not particularly open access. So we are unable to particularly critique and read each document and see what we are giving in exchange for this one. Also, rather than depending on external financing. Cities should be able to raise their own finance within, whether through tolls, whether through budgetary allocation, or whichever means, or the private sector, it didn't get to getting much more involved. And particularly because there's been in this project that there's lack of prioritization of local employment and skill development. When we see the people who are in top managerial position in this companies or in this, we know more of the Chinese people. How about the local development? How are we leveraging the assets, the wealth and the resources that we have? So these are the growing concerns that emerged. Also, given evidence that China's levy imposes on sustainable borders of vulnerable countries, we have some notable switches. We currently have to consider to sign on some of their assets. We have Sri Lanka. We also have Zambia. I hear the Cobalt region, Copper Belt region, and the things that I mentioned from there. And so there's a call that all projects must adhere to internationally acceptable best practices. This is even more debatable. That lenders must adopt modern labor governance and environmental standards in their development projects, and ensuring people inclusivity and local capacity development. And so this was where I came in. See, okay, what are the things that we as people can boast of, that we can also leverage on, irrespective of which funding, what are the things that we can boast of? But before we go on to that, I noticed a problem which is even beyond situation, and that's the issue of factional fiscal authority. So the way the Nigerian government is shaped is that we have a tiered form of government. So we have the federal government, we have the state government, and then we have the local government. And what this does is that each of these kind of governments have their responsibility. And so we are now beginning to note the fractured sector, so much that from the central government, things have to slow down. And so the people underneath either have to wait for funds to come down and are unable to fulfill their own responsibilities. So what has then emerged is that the people, that users, infrastructure users, or the residents, are now beginning to develop their own alternative way of sustenance. Now move on to the next slide. Are beginning to develop their own alternative way of sustaining themselves, so that they can fill in the gaps and the overlaps, that have emerged based on this. For example, because there are no last mile transport street or people's household, they have to come in form of motorcycles, which have now banned, or keke, like of keke. There's no problem, there's no central water provision, and people have to now drill their own goal or provide water by other any means possible for their own sustenance. And so I then look at that. Instead, okay, so if we are critiquing this point, we already established the problem that government cannot. Then we moved on to the fact that they are relying on external, some of them that are unsustainable. But there are people who are now developing strategies themselves. Why don't we now look into the strategies and see what we can learn from this? And so one of the key things that I was able to now drill and focus on this, now we move on to slide 12. Is that how can we then have key stakeholders buying and key citizen participation in some of these infrastructural projects? Since they have knowledge already of these issues that are bothering them, and they have sustainable ways in which they've been dealing with it anyway, how can we then get them involved? Which then led me to the aim, which is to examine the relative importance of moving from a model that is unsustainable to a people inclusive and more private sector driven model for infrastructure provision. Can we move on to slide 14? So we tested this model, which I call PPP model. This is moving from PP models to PPP, which means that people first, private public partnership. We tried to test this model on a small sample on site, to bring them up. Also, we organized a discussion where we had key stakeholders come on. We had the financial institution, we had the community development association, we had representatives of key ministries, represented there. And what we did was to try to have a co-production design approach where we have a participatory involvement in the discussion. And we asked them certain questions, trying to understand the major problem they have in lack of infrastructure delivery in their community. And the three things that came up, some move to the next slide. And the issues regarding road and accessibility, of course, that we all know and experience based on the traffic that we're constructing face in Lagos, the issue of drainage and flooding and security issues. And also one thing we noted was that we also tried to ask them, so how are you dealing with it? Many of them came up with ways that they are able to deal with this everyday thing and occurrence. And then many of them, some of the city development associations or communities that were engaged told us about how they were able to create community funds and how funds to create paved roads, in their street. Some of them came up how we can have a central water station, for their own community, where each person has a responsibility of attending to different things, whether you pay to get water or you pay to maintain, but it was a communal effort and that was sustainable over time. But the problem that we begin to see is that many of them are now beginning to think that they know that maybe government cannot do everything and we're here to help them. But we try to change our mindset that the primary responsibility of the government to provide infrastructure, whichever whatever attempt that you're doing is to support them. Now, but how can we then now bring all this fragmented effort? How can we bring it together? Like I said before, for a sustainable financing framework of model that works for everybody. I just wanted to show a case study of a community. Yes, which one of the communities that we engaged.
You should wait enough. You have around 3 minutes.
I think you're in the
You have around 10 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Just to show us.
We cannot hear you. The audience is not hearing you, please. Sorry, we cannot hear you. Especially the audience are not hearing you. I believe we have a technical hinge somewhere. Hello.
But it's a very long video. I just want to show it's like kind of what I'm just emphasizing on this presentation. That's the fact that there are people who came together, identify elected problems within themselves and came together to try to solve it through an asset, what you call an asset-based approach. They were able to see the resources within and the capability within to solve their own problems. So now the question is that they've been able to highlight and identify all the things that they need for their community to be effective. How is that we cannot now come to partner with them and see how we can help them to materialize or to implement some of these projects? That way, we are not only developing local capacity, we're also creating jobs within the community. And then there's a form of co-ownership of this project, which will then be sustainable. So so this is my call, which is the argument for a people-driven infrastructure project rather than a foreign direct investment where they lack knowledge of the needs of the people and are unable to meet them effectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. That was a very good presentation and well researched. Let the audience give the questions. We can have the questions at the end of our presentation. For the online audience, you can type our question in the Q&A, and also be having an opportunity to ask the question on later. Now we can have the second presenter to go on the podium, please. Is the second presenter available?
Second presenter will be presenting on indigenous human resources and alternative youth empowerment in Oyo State by Victoria Olajimi from the University of Lagos.
Thank you, Victoria. Welcome. Have your presentation, Victoria. Thank you.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prof. Sorry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Victoria. I'm a PhD student from the Department of Sociology, University of Ibadan. So I'm working on a project I want to present in a journal. This is not my PhD thesis. So I'm titled Indigenous Manpower Training and apprenticeship as an alternative for youth empowerment framework in Oyo State. Specifically, I'm looking at 2 local governments in Oyo State. We have the Shaki West local government and the Shein local government. I'll be looking at 2 trades. So I'll be looking at the aluminium pot making and the actual clothes weaving. So in the course of the research, I'll shed more light on it. So starting from this will be the outline of the presentation, then the background. So every society, before the prior to the colonial rule, so every society have their own form of education which leads to development. So they have their own form of apprenticeship. When the colonial masters came, it seems that the Western education has now served as an alternative to this indigenous manpower training. So Nigerians were engaged in learning vocation, which was later replaced with commercial education. And you see that in this case study that I'm looking at the 2 local governments for Isheyin now is followed as the prominent home for Ashoke reading. And we discover that even as it is prominent, there is still unemployment in those parts of Oyo State. And then in recent times, instead of apprenticeship and skills acquisition has increased. Despite the fact that this has increased, I think most of this apprenticeship is tailored into other aspects of apprenticeship, maybe like fashion designing, makeup training, and others. But specifically, I'll be looking at this indigenous trade because it has been there since the 60s, and till now, people still don't recognize it as a form of apprenticeship training. Then skills acquisition under the scope of apprenticeship would amount to source of income and empowerment. It has been established by literature that we bring about source of income and empowerment. So we need to look into that aspect of research. Then having adequate manpower training will lead to reduction in poverty. Because looking at the case study of Oyo State, looking at those parts of Oyo State, they are rural areas, and poverty there's high rates of poverty in those areas. But if this set of people can be empowered to look into this indigenous trade that have been existing since, so there's a probability that is going to lead into employment generation. And apprenticeship is one of the oldest established institutions in education and training. We are going to the statement of problem now. So, indigenous operational practices, there's a relationship between indigenous operational practices, apprenticeship, and personal growth by Obadara and Abbas in 2014. Then apprenticeship helps to provide access to a wide array of ideas, values, and thoughts, and then it promotes economic development. But looking at all these things that scholars, all these scholarly articles, it has not stimulated appropriate engagement of the youth in learning skills development and retention, which is valuable in the labor market. I mean, in the study area now. Then looking at high rates of employment in Nigeria, it's 33%, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics in 2022. And for your state, it is 19.64. So that's why I'm looking into how we can attract youth into learning all these trades, or maybe there are innovative skills that can be added into this so that it will improve employment and there will be able to be generation of income. Now I'll be looking at the following research questions. What are the factors that are responsible for the decline of indigenous manpower training and apprenticeship? Are there factors that are responsible for that? So we're getting that in the course of the research. And what are the relevance of this indigenous manpower training and apprenticeship to economic development? Then are there career opportunities for youth engaging in this apprenticeship and indigenous manpower training, specifically in the study area? Then we'll be looking at challenges encountered. Peradventure, they have been trying to improve it, because in those study areas, every year they have annual festivals for promoting those specific indigenous trade that I've talked about. So yes, it has not improved. So we're looking at challenges encountered in incorporating this indigenous manpower training into youth empowerment programs. Then these are the research objectives. They are derived from the questions, from the research questions. Then the significance of the studies is to provide in-depth and contextual-based understanding of apprenticeship in the indigenous trade. Because as old as this indigenous trade are in the study area, people are still learning. It's just that it's not as much as it is expected, and it has not led into any visible results. So we look at the in-depth and contextual-based understanding of how the apprenticeship process is done in those areas. Then complement existing studies on indigenous manpower training and apprenticeship by revealing the dynamics and experiences of masters. There's typographical error there, that's masters and apprentices. What are their experiences? Are there some other things that are discouraging them? So that would be the significance of the study. So for the purpose of this study, there will be a triangulation of two theories. We're using the social learning theory and the human capital theory. So the social learning theory emphasizes the importance of observing, modeling the behavior of others. So the environmental and cognitive factors interact to influence human learning and behavior. And this theory also says that learning is a process. So when people are learning this apprenticeship, it will improve the number of people that are engaged in this kind of trade, and they learn through observation and imitation of other people's behavior, so that these traits will not go into extinction. And that is one of the significance of this study. Now, the other theory that will be used for this study is the human capital theory, that states that human capital is as important as every other capital like land and so on. So and skills and development improves a person's supply of human capital. So when an individual learns a skill, when they are developed, learning these skills, it will increase the human capital, and it will create opportunities for this particular individual, for the society, and for the state and the country at large. The for manpower training, still explaining the human capital theory, manpower training, apprenticeship, skill development are enhanced benefits that will lead towards improvement in the quality of level of production. So that is the reason why we have to invest in human capital through this indigenous manpower training. Human capital can be regarded as accumulated knowledge by a group of individuals, their day-to-day activities, personal attributes, and social habits as established by Adekola 2017. So we go to the methodology. So the methodology descriptive then. The study location, like I've earlier mentioned, is Oyo State, Shaki West, and local governments, and this is purposive. Like I've said that Shaki West is famous for the production of aluminium pots, while Sheni is called the home of Ashoke in Nigeria. That is the traditional clothes weaving. And it's prominent to the extent that for that of Shaki West, even other aluminium pots that are produced in other parts of the country, they try to imitate it and inscribe the name on the aluminium pot. So that is the extent of its popularity. Yet it has not, as established by literature, it has not improved the manpower training or increase and reduce unemployment. And for sharing as well, the home of Ashoke in Nigeria, and every year they celebrate it. Different indigenes of the town they come from, far and near, to celebrate it, and people go there to purchase this all over Nigeria. Then the study population, I'll be using apprentices and masters of this trade. Of course, people still learn this trade. You still, when you get to those towns, sharing especially, majority of the people, they still learn this trade. So we'll be looking at the apprentices and masters of this trade. Then the stakeholders and the community leaders will also be interviewed. It's going to be qualitative. So it's just two trades that I'm looking at: the actor, okay, clothes within that for the sharing local government, while the aluminium pot making will be for Shaki West. Then for the masters, they must have trained at least 2 people who have completed their training period. Then for apprentices, they must have been on the training to have for their experiences while they are learning it and what they intend to gain based on the research objectives. Then continuing on the data collection, okay, like the secondary data from published journals, articles, reports, and other academic materials. Then the total sample size will be 44. We have the index interview, the key informant interviews, and the focus group discussion. So for the index interview, 15 apprentices and 15 masters of trade. Then we have community leaders. Then for the key informants, we'll be using association leaders who are aware of the trade in those areas. Then for the focus group discussion, we are going to be having one for masters and one for the apprentices in each location. So we have 2 in each of those locations. And then for during the interviews, masters will not be, apprentices will not be interviewed in the presence of their masters so that it will not affect the results. Then this is the table for the research objectives by data collection. The idea we address, the idea and KIA will address all the objectives, while the focus group discussion will address objective 1 and 4. Then the data analysis are going to be using descriptive for the demographic characteristics. Then the interviews will be self-recorded and transcribed into narratives. Then content analysis will be conducted and reported as codes. Then the total contribution to knowledge, to secure pragmatic and policy results, which, if appropriately educated, can be a guide to youth empowerment program in Nigeria. Then we'll be able to recognize these indigenous traits as well as apprenticeship and support them, and they can even be included in other skills acquisition programs, because we discovered that most of these traits, even NYC that Said has been introduced, most of these traits are still not recognized in those programs. So just to look at the pictures now, that's the actual page. Weaving, where they do it, where they learn it. Then for the post making, so that is how they do it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for the presentation. It was a wonderful presentation, and we are done for that. Let's go on. I also recommend the audience, let your question down. You can ask Victoria the questions after our presenters are through. The next presenter, please.
Next presenter will be Shikimwan. Sorry, apologies.
Welcome, Shikamwan. I hope I present the name correctly, Shikamwan.
His presentation is titled Staff in Fuel, Electricity Supply, Fuel Importation, and Subsidies in Nigeria.
And before you start, Shikamwan, you have 15 minutes. Don't go beyond 15 minutes.
So it's 15 minutes. Okay. So I'm waiting for my slides. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wang Shujian. Okay, my first name is Shu Jian, and my last name is Wang. So you can just call me Wang. So I'm from Tsinghua University, China, and I'm a PhD student. I'm currently conducting my field research in Lagos, Nigeria. So today I would like to share my research titled Trapped in Petrol, Electricity Supply, Petrol Consumption, and the Subsidies in Nigeria from 1999 to 2015. So this research forms a chapter of my PhD thesis, which is still a work in progress. So, and when I did my slides, I found that there are so many things I need to include and clarify in this presentation, and due to the time limit, and I find I couldn't. So therefore, I highly value if you have any constructive criticism you may have. So, sorry. Does it work? I think you might need to flip the PDF, the screen. Yeah, then it will. Yes, thank you. So this is my content of my presentation. Yes, you need to flip. Okay, as we are all aware, Nigeria holds significant importance as an oil-producing country both in Africa and globally. But however, despite being blessed with oil resources, Nigeria has often experienced energy shortages like electricity, petrol, liquefied natural gases. So since the beginning of the 21st century and the privatization of Nigeria's fuel sector, the local refining industry has witnessed a rapid decline, as we can see here. So imported fuel has taken over the market, leading to an unstable supply due to heavy dependence on imports. Simultaneously, domestic fuel prices in Nigeria has remained considerably lower than the global average, resulting in over-demand. So consequently, whenever there is a problem of the supply, shortages occur. And this raises an important question, that is, why does the government invest substantial funds in maintaining low fuel prices when the fuel is imported? I know that this is a question with social significance right now, especially after Tinubu coming to power and claim that subsidy has gone. But my research period is before Buhari government, and there were lots of changes during his time. So it might need another project for nowadays situation. So by closely examining the three photographs I present here, we can see a different pattern of gasoline consumption. As we can see in Nigeria, queues consist of a lot of individuals carrying handled jerry can, whereas other countries, typically like in Kenya, in France, these queues are majority motorcycles or cars. So how do we comprehend this unique gasoline consumption situation? And I argue that to answer the second question, the fact is the petrol has become a vital resource for the majority of Nigerian households, serving as a means to generate electricity. This explains why even individuals without cars, they will carry jerry can to obtain fuel. Regarding to the first question, I believe that fuel subsidies play a critical role in maintaining a balanced distribution of petrol dollars in Nigeria among political party elites, business capital, and the popular interests. So before delving into gasoline consumption, I think it is essential to grasp the dire situation of Nigeria's electricity supply, which falls significantly below the global average in terms of per capita electricity. As we can see, this is Nigeria, and we can see South Africa, and this is Brazil. So it's it's like one of the worst electricity supply in the world. But we can see that between 90s and 80s, Nigeria's power sector experienced a substantial growth. But however, from the late 80s, it faces stagnation. This stagnation can be attributed to three factors, as I presented on the slides. But more importantly, Nigeria's power sector heavily relies on petrodollar allocation and exhibits a capital-intensive nature. Specifically, the sector's preference towards gas-fired thermal generation and dependence on foreign services poses challenges for Nigeria's autonomous operation of power plants. So consequently, when the government budget is reduced, the power sector struggles to function adequately. And even with the privatization reform initiated by President Obasanjo at the beginning of the 21st century, domestic electricity supply in Nigeria did not develop very well. By 2013, we can see that almost 81% households need to generate electricity by themselves. And in 2015, we Nigeria generated like 3,800 gigawatts, but the need calculated is 13,000 gigawatts. So we can see the huge gap between the demand and the generated. So within this context of severe electricity shortages, cheap gasoline generators rapidly became a necessity for electricity supply among Nigerian households between 1999 to 2015. So in 2012, a survey showed that 23 million households out of 28 million did not connect to the national grid, which means they need to generate electricity by themselves. So although we don't have gasoline generator, the number of gasoline generator officially, but the estimated number of gasoline generator is between 17 million to 60 million. And if we make 22 million generator as the estimated number, we can see that they have like 42,000 gigawatts in total, which is 8 times to the peak supply of national grid in 2015. So among these generators, the most renowned are the Chinese-made Tiger brand, which is called I Pass My Neighbor. This is a pitching English, means I'm better than my neighbor. So we can see their importance in Nigeria's daily life. And as gasoline generator became a necessity for maintaining household electricity supply, petrol transformed.
You have 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, I can finish. So we can see that petrol transformed from a public goods to a public goods, which means before the I Pass My Neighbor household petrol consumption in Nigeria was generally limited to those who own cars, which is the middle class and above, and petrol price is much lower. But after the coming of I Pass My Neighbor, this cheap generator broke this kind of plug goods barrier and made gasoline consumption became a public good, which is essential for daily life and the daily supply of electricity. So the transformation in the nature of petrol has coincided with a surge of fuel imports and subsidies, which have placed a significant financial strain and on the federal government. The Occupy Nigeria movement in 2012 is a very good example of people regard the petrol subsidy as their social rights. So as we all know that in oil economy, subsidies are generally seen as a social contract between the state and the mass, and it was usually derived from nationalism during the oil boom period. So when the government wanted to remove the subsidy, so the question is how government can drive reform without breaking this kind of social contract. And like in Iran, which is also a very famous oil economy, they have removed the oil subsidy like in 2012 or this time. The thing they did is they have a very well planned, which they can. Sorry, I'm a little bit rude. So the thing is, successful countries like Iran have generally provided effective compensation programs. But however, the fuel subsidy reform in Nigeria in 2012 was hastily executed, lacking a clear compensation mechanism and a favorable public opinion environment. And that's why 2012 removal of subsidy failed. And my last part is that in Nigeria, subsidies has become a balance of Nigeria's petrodollar distribution. And as we can see that in Nigeria, the budget for fuel subsidy and other public goods have a very big gap. So we can see that in 2011, the budget for fuel subsidy is like 1.8 trillion naira, which is like $10.2 billion, which is half of the national budget, federal budget of Nigeria. So what I want to say is that this kind of Nigeria degraded of public goods have a very significant impact for daily life of Nigerians. It's like every household, its own government is a very good example of this kind of situation. So the inadequate supply of public goods has a very serious impact on household life in Nigeria. But on the other hand, the fuel subsidy became has changed from public goods, from club goods to public goods. So this kind of subsidy filled the gap.
Wait up, please wait up.
Okay. So the last statement I want to say is that this petrol subsidy serves as a fresh avenue for the government to maintain a balanced system encompassing political party elites, indigenous business capital, and the popular interests, all within the context of a new petrodollar distribution structure. And my conclusion is that petrol has changed from a club good to a public good in Nigeria. And the second statement is subsidy is a rebalance of the petrodollar distribution system under the neoliberal economic reform since the beginning of the 21st century. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. The petrol has become a public good, is no longer a crap good. It's for good for everybody, every Nigerian to have petrol. The next presenter, please. Have they arrived?
Is Abidemi there? Abidemi here? Is Olayimin there? Okay, we don't have the main two presenters. We can go on with questions.
Yes, let's go on with questions. Now the audience, you can ask your questions. Those are virtually ask a question that you can request to unmute yourself so that you can ask your questions. And those on the hall, let's have a question. You can ask the rest on the first gentleman. Sorry. Yeah, after the last presenter, the gentleman with the purple cape.
Okay, one. Okay, shall I give number from here, please?
We have 4 questions in the hall.
Oh, sorry.
And we have 1 question on virtual.
We have one of the presenters online, please. We have one of the presenters online.
You have one more presenter online?
Yes, it's online.
Just a minute. If you have a presenter online, can go on.
Okay,
Presenter online.
Olayemi, can you speak up, please? Olayemi, can you speak up? Okay, can you enable your video while you present, please? Thank you very much. Yes, she's muted. I think she's trying to get in. Olayemi, can you unmute yourself? We're waiting for you. So while we wait for her, we'll just take the first two questions, and we'll come back to Olayemi when she's ready. So,
Let's go on the question.
Sorry.
Let's go on the questions. Go on the questions.
So, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. So we take the first question first, then we'll check on Olayemi, then we'll come back to 3 and 4. Please, your question.
One question per person.
Yes, one question per person.
Okay, let's go on.
I speak into this.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much to the presenters who were able to give us the insights and well-earned knowledge today. My question is to Dr. Wong, right? My question goes as this: what can Nigeria learn from other countries in terms of the removal of subsidies, specifically as subsidies have been seen somewhat of a palliative or almost like a redress, a redistribution of wealth amongst other Nigerians. Now that has been taken away and somewhat been entrusted within the private sector and major oil producers. So in lieu of all of that, would I say social contract, how can Nigeria put in measures in place, particularly by the government, to make sure that Nigerian citizens don't suffer too much?
Yeah. So let's take the questions now. The question now.
Thank you. Mine is in the form of comments. And sir, I have comments for two of the presenters. The first one is to the person that presented on indigenous activities. Yes. Okay. Working on indigenous activity, there are a number of questions that we need to, a number of questions, issues that we need to address. One, the indigenous activities, were they subjected to research that will bring about transformation in the activity that will enhance the status of such indigenous economy? Have they been able to come up with products like we have Ashoke, what of handkerchief, what of window blinds, what of some other stuff that we use fabrics for? So the presenter may need to look into this as parts of the reasons why those could not come up to transform the employment opportunity in the environment. That's one. Do I? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to respond? Would you like to respond? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think from
before you respond, there's a question online that is directed to you. I can go to the question. Somebody is thank you for the interesting presentation. The difference to a link between increased fuel consumption via I pass my neighbor generator and increase the fuel subsidy. Does the other do you consider that the poor power supply is intentional by the dominant class in the area that controls the state as a way of keeping petrol consumption high? So the question is, are you aware that the higher class they bring the poor power supply for that to have high prices? And then he has a second question: what is the place of mass in this balance? What is the place of the mass in the balance of distribution of petrodollar? Go on, thank you.
Can you respond?
Just processing the question.
Okay, sorry. Okay, let me read out. He said, thank you for a detailed and interesting presentation. With reference to the link between the increased fuel consumption via I better pass my neighbor generator and the increased fuel subsidy, does the author consider that poor power supply is intentional by the dominant class in Nigeria that controls the state as a way of keeping the petrol consumption high in order to ensure that more appropriation of petrodollar in subsidies by the dominant class? Secondly, what is the place of the masses in the balance of the distribution of petrodollar, in what way and to what extent can it be said that they are benefiting?
You can
Okay.
answer the question now. Respond.
Okay, do you mind I answer this online question first? Okay, so I wanted to say that there is no definite evidence that the dominant class in Nigeria that intentionally make the electricity industry doesn't work, but there are a lot of consumptions that this kind of a dominant class, they intentionally make this doesn't work. But I think we can just tell from the phenomenon that this kind of undersupply of electricity and the connection between the high consumption of fuel consumption. I'm not sure if so my answer is there is no evidence that there is a disconnection, but I'm just telling from the phenomenon. And the second question is
In the place of the masses and the balance of the distribution of petrodollar, in what ways and to what extent can it be said that they are benefiting?
okay.
It's relevant to the masses now.
Yes, the benefits is very evident that they can get fuel in a low price. That's their benefit, and they can consume a lot of fuel in their daily life. But in other African countries, they can't. And there is, although other African countries, they also have a very bad supply of electricity, but they don't have this kind of I pass my neighbor situation. So that is why they have no choice but endure the bad electricity supply. But Nigerian people, due to the cheap gasoline generator and the cheap fuel price, so they can still enjoy a little bit more of electricity in their daily life. So this is my answer to the benefits. Okay, as for the recommendation for Nigeria removal of subsidy, and I checked that in Iran case, they have like 3 major points. The first is they have a compensatory cash transfer system, which is during the 1 year period, the Iran government had settled a system to transfer directly cash to every household, that each level of household, they have specific cash transfer, so they can have a better transition during this very difficult situation. And the second, I think it's the most important, is that they have a very good communication or conversation between the government and the public. And I think nowadays, the Tinubu case, that he can remove the subsidy, we cannot say that he has successfully removed the subsidy, because we need to look this case in a long history. But I want to say that in Nigeria nowadays, people see subsidy as a very severe situation, and everyone wanted to settle this thing, so he can push this thing now without a lot of constraints. But I think the most important thing is that there is some kind of a negotiation and a conversation between the government and the mass and the labor unions and other different interest group. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You can go for the honorary presenter. If he is ready, you can go on. You have 10 minutes.
I have a comment for the last, the person that spoke last. The comment is, I just want him to look at the work from the angle of a theoretical framework, whereby you will consider the need for the change in paradigm. You know, the liberalized paradigm that made a demarcation between welfareism and liberalism. So if you look at it from that perspective, you will better understand the shift in Nigerian economic activity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. The virtual presenter who can now present, Oreyemi.
Sorry,
If you are
Olayemi, can
able
you
to
hear us?
present now.
I don't think Olayemi is with us. I don't think, because she's been.
Okay, let's have the last round of questions before we close down.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have the last round of questions before we close down. Or comments. Oreyemi, are you able to present? Can't hear you, Oreyemi.
Hello, Olayemi, we can't hear you. Can you speak up? Hello, Olayemi,
Yes,
can you
I
speak
hear
up?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Yes, sir.
Go on, we can hear you. Make your presentation.
Can you hear me, sir?
You have 10 minutes to make a presentation.
Hello, sir.
We can hear you.
can
Go ahead,
hear
Oreyemi. Do your presentation.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Make your presentation, Oreyemi. We can hear you.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we're hearing you.
The audio.
Hello, Olayemi, good afternoon.
I can't hear you well here, sir.
Yes, can you enable your video
Sorry,
first of all?
Oreyemi. Sorry for that, Oreyemi.
Hello, sir.
We can't hear you, Oreyemi. Sorry for that.
Can you enable your video, please, Olayemi?
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. Affirmative. We can hear you. Can you enable your video?
Okay. Yes, sir. Can I speak to my paper?
Enable your
Yes.
video as you speak on your paper.
Can I present my paper,
Present
sir?
as you enable your video.
All right. Okay. The title of my paper is Decolonization in 21st Century Nigeria. Insight from Labor Unionism. All right.
Are you able to present your paper, Oreyemi?
By saying that the labor union. Sir, I can't hear you, sir.
Okay, sorry, we can't go on, Oreyemi. Sorry. We cannot go on, Oreyemi. Sorry.
The speaker is 100%.
We can hear you.
Hello, sir.
We can hear you.
Hello, Olayemi. Hello, Olayemi. We can hear you.
Sorry, Oreyemi. And I think you experienced some technical issues. We can do the last round of questions as we wait for him. You will be able to correct. You can hear from him. The last round of questions. We have around 5 minutes.
Okay, can we take another round of questions, please? Yes. I have 3, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. So please, let's have your question, please.
Let's have short ones.
Short questions, please. Short ones.
So my question is to Wang. I think it's a very fantastic project in presentation. Can you be a bit clearer on the periodization? By that, I mean, like, what year was there an increase in I Passed My Neighbor? What year was there an increase in petrol imports? Just to make it clearer, which segments of time you're talking about.
So in my field work, I don't have a specific time for when the I Passed My Neighbor became a major electricity supply for household, but I think it's like 2008 and 2007, it became the mass influx of this kind of very cheap gasoline generator, because before that, it's majorly restricted also in like middle class household. But after that, it's like a lot of community, even every household, they will have this. And I think this situation is also described in the book, Every Household Its Own Government, the book. And I think we also have this author in our annual conference here. He will have a much more depth about his ethnographic field work. Yeah, thank you.
Next question.
All right, my question is to the first presenter, that's Oluwaseun. In the quest for the infrastructure that you're talking about, there was the part you mentioned, crowdfunding. And then since you've been looking at the challenges, don't you think crowdfunding can also be a little pro instead of a challenge, like the overcrowding of the crowd we have in Lagos? Instead of thinking about it as one of the challenges, which is one of the challenges, can you also look at it as one of the advantage that add to the manual labor that we have in Lagos? Thank you.
All right. No, that's number 5.
Thanks to everyone for your presentation. I'm not really asking a question, but it's just like a comment to the second presenter, Victoria. So I just want you to also look into apprentices that have concluded their trainings, but they are yet to establish themselves and have not also trained other apprentices. Like, you could understand why many people are not practicing from that. For instance, I know how to sew, I learned how to sew, but I'm not currently sewing due to different reasons. So that can also help you to find out the gap between the apprenticeship stage and then being into the business. Thank you.
I just want to appreciate Wang, at least for researching on Nigeria. The comment I really want to pass is not a question. Your answer to somebody that said, what would be the benefits of the masses? That's what and your suggestion is that households should be giving money, yeah, just like it was done in Saudi Arabia. Here is the money in Nigeria. Nigeria economy is about to bounce back. There's a sort of Nigeria is battling with a lot of settling their loans. You know, there's no money to give, and invariably, if there's money to give, it will lead to inflation because it will be excess money, because productivity, level of productivity will not match with the money in circulation. I think that will not be a cogent point to solve the problem of subsidy, rather empowerment. And probably the money, giving household money will lead to inflation. Aside from that, increasing, there's needs to increase the level of employment. There's need even to curb excess inflation that we are fighting. Excess money in circulation that will not commensurate with the level of productivity will not be good for the nation. So the same solution the solution of Saudi Arabia will not work here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your comments. So I just wanted to say that giving money to the household doesn't have a causal specific or definitely causal relations with the inflation. So it all depends how the government will manage the financial system and how they project this kind of project. So it's like in Iran, the inflation is not very high after they distribute money directly to the household. And I think Nigeria lacks of money need to question, and we need to question where does the fuel petrodollar, where does the petrodollar goes in Nigeria? Okay, thank you.
I think the next question yet to be unanswered is one about overcrowding, right? Oh yeah, first Oluwaseun. Yeah.
Thank you for your question. So it wasn't exactly posed as a challenge, the crowdfunding. I said after we engaged with the stakeholders to ask how they, how they meet their needs. This was one of the findings. So they said that they come together as a community, to crowdfund or to finance some of this infrastructure, whether it's paving the roads or drilling a water system or a central electricity. Yeah, so it wasn't exactly posed as a challenge. I'm just saying that this was one of the findings. So I'm now seeing how can this, also be explored to meet, or also, explore within other communities to see if it works. Yeah, thank you.
So we are yet to get to Olayemi. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. So any other questions? All right, let's take a question. Could you pass it over, please?
Thank you very much. I think my question is to Oluwaseun. You are advocating for people to be included into the processes of public-private investment. But you need to take into consideration that most public investment is for profit. And so at what stage do they involve the people? Because bringing the people, they have to be able to calculate their risks and their return and be able to be assured that their investment is going to be viable because they are not into development. So most of the ideal that bringing people into public-private investments benefits, it benefits the people, but how does the return for the investor is secured?
You have another question online?
No. Okay. I'm saying that most public-private investments.
No, you have got your question. Thank you for that. Thanks for the question. You have another question online for Wang.
She said I should repeat the question. Okay. So I'm asking, most public-private investment is for profit. And they are very, very meticulous in their investments to take into consideration that they have to calculate the risk and then the returns. For involving people at what stage? Because most community projects are about development, and development cannot be profit. You cannot make profit out of it. And so what stage do you want the people to be involved? They can generate the idea. It's now up to the investor to assess the idea or the investment if it's viable, and what's the risks and what's the profit margin and all of those things. So at what stage is the people needed? The conception of the idea, and how should they be given stake or shares into the project, or should they be able to participate in the management, or what? I don't know, what stage should they be involved? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We have another question for
Yes.
Wang, which is online.
Yes.
And the question is, okay, go on.
Okay, the question goes that on the illegal movement of petrol to countries neighboring Nigeria, and its impact on fuel subsidy, how does this affect the balance of circulation of the benefits of petroleum dollar, especially to the masses?
Let's get a response from the questions. Our time is up.
Okay, thank you for this question. I'm not saying that I just wanted to say that people can benefit from the low price of petrol. I doesn't say that if the low priced petrol goes into other countries will have benefit for masses. So I wanted to say that the illegal movement of petrol to countries neighboring Nigeria is a loss to the country. But when they do this, the petrol importers and maybe also NNPC will benefit from it. But I can't see that masses will, how to say, no. I just want to say people can benefit from the low price of the petrol. I never said that excessive supply of petrol will have benefit for the masses or other things. I'm just saying that, but during this benefit of low prices, the country's assets will definitely damaged. So that's my answer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the presentation. It was very engaging panel, and we have run around from all the panelists and the audience. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our panel.
There's no question yet unanswered.
We have some question and answer. Okay, go on. The answer the question. Go. Answer.
Your question.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Victoria.
Yes, one is yet to be answered.
Yes.
One question is yet to be answered, and we have someone who has not asked this question.
Okay, go on.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Bankole. I think that at every point I've had this same question posed at me, asking that how do the private investors get their return? But just to also clarify that that's not exactly the focus of this presentation, right? The PPP was not the focus. It was more to discuss the Chinese investments, in infrastructure delivery here in Lagos, right? So like I mentioned earlier, this crowdfunding or community financing was one of the findings we found, after we've done our research, right, within the community. And what's interesting, and based on the video we watched, was that these people had a map, a future plan already mapped out for their community. It means that they had already identified the problems. They've already proposed solutions, based on what has worked within the local level. And they are saying that this is what we want. We just need partners, to come partner with us and then see how we can implement some of this project. So in turn, what then happens is that there's a guarantee for whoever is coming on board that you especially, addressing the needs of the people, right? There's also, in turn, job creation. There's, of course, there's an effective, there's also development, like you mentioned. And then there's the participatory approach to it, such that there is a co-ownership of this project, and you can be assured of sustainability, not only in the future or in the tenure of the project, but in your own return, whoever is coming on board to help partner with them. But that's just one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is the fact that we often forget that there's a power dynamics to these things. There's a question of who's got the power, right? Who's got the power, really? And that's the question. That's the angle that I think I want us to start seeing the issue of infrastructure delivery in any city, especially in Lagos. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take his question before we move to his Olayemi's presentation.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. The question is to the second presenter. You're looking at alternative youth employment. And I'm thinking, since you're using your methodology is ethnography, I'm thinking, have you considered what the youth themselves call it, whether it's alternative or not? Because sometimes what we think is alternative is actually their major source of income, while other parts might be something, except you want to conceptualize the use or your use of alternative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
As this answers the questions, Olayemi may be preparing a PowerPoint to be online. As this answers the questions, make your PowerPoint to be online. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the comments. I think alternative does not necessarily mean that it is not being used.
It doesn't mean that we are not making use of other or alternative, does not mean we are doing away with others. So, but I will look into it and see if that is what they call it. So, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the response. Oremi, make your PowerPoint present. Now you have the floor for 10 minutes. Make your presentation, please. Unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Oremi.
Can you unmute yourself?
Good. You're good to go.
Can you speak up?
Oremi, make your PowerPoint presentation. You are good to go.
I don't think he's with us.
Hello?
Make your presentation, Oremi, please.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, speak.
All right,
Go on,
sir.
go on.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Briefly, I have to speak on decolonization in 21st century Nigeria, instead from labor unionism. As we all know, labor unionism can be described as organized group of members that earn wages and salaries. Of course, they have common interests, which at the end of the day, when they work, they are to be paid or remunerated according to what they work for. So, therefore, this labor union stands in the area of bringing out economic, social, and political interests of their members collectively. But as this paper contains, we can see labor union that is in the 21st century that started immediately after Second World War. Then African workers, especially Nigerian workers, started seeing themselves as an organized labor in which they wanted to fight for the common rights of their workers, of the workers generally. So to speak, they want to end the issue of casualization, the issue of ill-treatment of workers that work in various sectors. Far more importantly, they wanted to see that they are well paid, that they are well compensated, so that at the end of the day, their labor or their struggle will not go in vain. Furthermore, may I also say here that the Nigerian workforce became recognized as soon as we got independent, because right from that moment, due to what happened to them during the colonial era, they don't want such to happen when Nigeria got independent, because the British colonial masters then did everything possible to silence the Nigerian workforce. Especially, they don't want the union to stand. But immediately when we assumed independence, the workforce became well organized and became well reformed, championing the cause of having the workers to be together under the same umbrella. That's why we call them labor unions. But at the initial stage, they faced quite a lot of struggles. Why? Because they do not want to be recognized. They wanted to be recognized by way of ensuring that they were registered properly, so as to be able to ensure that they keep on fighting for their rights. Furthermore, they also say here that decolonization and labor unionism in Nigeria started on the political plane. And of course, being under the unity that they intended to kick out the British, and of course, they were able to do that. In fact, we need to attribute the success and much successes to be recorded on part of this labor union because they also fought for Nigeria to have independence. So thereafter, after independence, they came together and became more refined and more organized. So we could see so many of them that led in this struggle. Like for instance, now we have Okoro Dudu, he was a lawyer, a nationalist. We have Onajobi, and also we have Esua, who happens to be the general secretary of Nigerian Union of Teachers. That time, we have so many of them that came with so many names that came. Nigerian Union of Teachers, we could see them. So also we could see radical nationalists and historians who happens to be Okoye. One even wrote that the essence of labor unionism in Nigeria is to ensure that Nigerian workforce enjoyed, really enjoyed that their rights were not trampled upon. So many of them that came on board within this period. But of course, as they were doing this, the Nigerian government also, on the other way around, they were not willing that time to really permitted them to operate freely, and they were doing everything possible to sabotage their interests. And due to the fact that they also had mind of ensuring that they are really on top of the situation, so they encourage their members not to compromise and not also to lower the flag of which all of them they were championing for. And furthermore, we could also say that the Nigerian workers, actually under the umbrella of Federation of Nigerian Civil Service Union, when they were formed, all of them brought together all other unions of the Nigerian workforce together. And as we speak today now, we cannot say that, of course, they all transformed under the Nigerian Labour Congress, which eventually we now have Trade Union Congress, etc. But the beauty of it now to be is that Nigerian labor unions, we could see them as championing the cause of having Nigerian workers to be set free. Of recent, we see what happened during the past administration, how they were able to raise the hope of Nigerian workers. So also we could see what happened of recent when this issue of subsidy was said to have gone. Nigerian Labour Congress brought out an issue in which whereby they wanted Nigerian workers to go on strike until when they had a very good dialogue with Nigerian government, when they decided that the strike would not hold again. Here, what we are trying to say is that Nigerian Labour Congress really established what can call a very good links among their members. They had a very good links among all the union members nationwide. So also they always dialogue with government whenever the issue of that concerns workers arose. So also they were at the vanguard on ensuring that Nigerian workers, especially the workforce, that they were not sidelined. A few hours ago or yesterday, we read that Nigerian Labour Congress moved or mobilized some workers to some Chinese company, in which they wanted to end the issue of casualization, because they discovered that within that company, they were not treating the workers very well. They were not being given the attachment. They hired the fire, they sacked them unnecessarily without the entitlement being paid. So all this we could see that the Nigerian Labour Congress, that they were really on top of the situation. And that's why today that even Nigerian government recognized them and made them to be well known. And of course, we can also say that the present president that we have in Nigeria, President Tinubu, wanted them to a meeting of recent, which of course I've just mentioned, so that at least they'll be able to see where actually government is going. And if government is not going towards the right path which the Nigerian workforce really expected, so it means they can down tools. They can down tools. But government made them to understand that with this first subsidy in question that we just mentioned, I think that will be a palliative for them. The more reason why the Labour Congress, TUC, etc., decided that there will not be strike any longer. But that does not mean that at any point in time they will still not call for strike if government wanted to deviate from their initial plan or their initial agreement. So lastly now, may I say here that when we talk of decolonization in the 21st century, instead from labor unionism, that Nigerian labor union really wanted Nigerian workforce to be detached far away from where and manner in which Nigerian workers were treated when we were under the colonial masters. That these days now, it's good for Nigerian workers to enjoy, yes, to enjoy, to be beneficiary of whatever that has to do with workers generally. Let the entitlement be paid and let them be more recognized so as for them also to be more committed in their daily activities. In as much as government is ready to do their own, to fulfill their own sides of the bargain, so also the Nigerian workers also, they are also ready to also fulfill their obligations in as much as they are all that committed. The other time when Nigerian Labour Congress wanted to have some issues with some of the governors, they told the governors that this issue of minimum wage, you should be ready to pay because in your own state, you are running it, you are collecting your own, how do I call it? You are collecting your own monthly allocations from government, from federal government. So how will you not treat Nigerian workers as rightly for them to be treated? So these are the things that Nigerian Labour Union stands for. So we could not see many of the impacts, at least when we talk of impact of labor unionism and under Nigerian development, we've seen that it's still part of nation building.
I'm sorry, Olayemi, I'm sorry. Could you round off? Hello, can you hear me?
The leadership of labor. Hello, sir.
Sorry, could you round off in a minute?
Hello,
we have to take questions. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Could you round up in a minute? We have to take questions.
I want to
our time
conclude.
is all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I want to conclude. So, in conclusion, now, we might say that generally, labor unionism has examined many of their roles in the area of championing the cause of having a good welfareism for Nigerian workers. And of course, one might say that maybe they are part of nationalist movement. Of course, we are not mincing word if we say they are part of a nationalist movement. But the effect of trade unionism in nation building is that they sought for cooperation, spirit of cooperation among workers, maintaining a stable and not only a stable, maintaining a stable and sustainable economy, social and political development of the country. So that could be attributed to the cause of labor unionism. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Torian, for presentation. Can I have some questions for him? If there are any questions?
Sure.
Any question for him?
Any questions, please? Any questions for him? Any questions? Okay, we don't have any questions on our end here.
Also in virtual online, don't have any question coming.
Yeah, we don't have any question coming from there.
Thank you so much for the panelists. Thank you for the presenters. And also thank you for all the audience for coming and presenting. Sorry, we have gone over time because of some technical issues. I'm sorry for that. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your conference workshops. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody online. Have a wonderful conference experience. Bye-bye.
Thank you.